Hello everyone, it's time to do another deck profile, this time on a Rorowa deck post set 11. I had Rorowa stuff for a while since set 5, mainly this one, but I never built the deck until now because of this one. This one just made me change my mind about building Rorowa because one thing I kind of always like about Rorowa is the defensive playstyle, but it doesn't really have much offense until this Rorowa came out at Viridescent Flash. And I really like this about Rorowa because the original Rorowa played with a defensive playstyle while playing a bit offensive with the tokens, but this new Rorowa, this new evolved Rorowa, or basically a new attack stance for Rorowa, I just really love it. It just goes full offensive and just basically enhances Rorowa even further. This one plays defense, this one plays offense, and I really love that about the new Rorowa. So I just end up building the deck mainly because I already had a bunch of the stuff back at set 5, never built the deck, but this one kind of just made me kind of want it. Because yeah, I already like Rorowa's art and it just looks really cool. I kind of like the token aspect of it. It was actually kind of cool in a way. And even when before this came out and I was building a deck just the regular Rorowa, I still had a bit of fun with it, but this one definitely made it better. I really love the offensive to defensive stance here, and I kind of like the new evolutions or new fighting stance of the Clash of the Heroes stuff. So here we are with the deck. And like I said, overall, it is kind of fun. It doesn't really change much from set 8. Set 8 was really the big change because there was evolved glitter units as well. And that was really the biggest change. This new one with all the cross epics, overall, I will have to say is basically kind of just better, but cheaper. That's basically all I could really say about the new cross epic new forms or fighting stand cards. Rorowa is the only one that kind of has a big change because it goes from defensive to offensive, and it can go back to defense. And that's the only thing I could really say about the new cross epic evolutions overall, but Rorowa is the one with the big change, so I just end up kind of liking it, and that's just how I really feel about the deck. But anyway, with the new support, how this deck really plays. It was used to be played in a way where you mainly focus on, of course, this Rorowa, where you would just get your tokens, do stuff with them, get your Momoke token, so you could eat your plants, aka your plant tokens. So this one calls the plant tokens, this one eats them, and then basically powers itself up. That's basically the playstyle. And then whatever remaining tokens that you have, you basically eat them up for defensive. That's basically how this Rorowa plays. Now with this one, you basically get a offensive turn, and then you move back to defense. That's basically how this new Rorowa functions. I really like that. You can go from full-on offensive, going back to defense. And I really love that about this new Rorowa. But other than that, it doesn't really exactly change too much, but it does add pressure. In a way, it does really help out the deck a lot, because this new Rorowa actually gives you some extra plussing as well, which I can say the deck kind of needs as well. And it's just very helpful. But anyway, let's get on with the deck. With, of course, the Ride deck. So first off, we're going to start off with the Bioroid Rorowa, just your typical starter. But this is going to be a very necessary starter because it's for the grade 1. Awaken from Slumber Rorowa, where when riding on top of the grade 0 Rorowa, you call a plant token in the back row center. So it's just behind him. In which you go to 3,000 years later Rorowa, where when placed on Vanguard, you can retire one rearguard to call 2 plant tokens. Grade 1 calls the plant token. Most of the time it's going to be there. You kill that plant token for 2 more cards, in which you can make one whole column for 1 rearguard attack. You can do that. In which we go to the grade 3 for one most precious thing Rorowa. So the skill is very simple, where act once per turn, you can Soul Blast 1, call up to 3 plant tokens. All the plant tokens have 5k power and there are grade 0 with boosts. Just keep that one in mind. So very simple right there. Just get your plant tokens just for your setup board. In which it does combo with the second skill, where when it's being attacked, it's not once per turn, you can retire as many plant tokens as you want, and then it gets plus 5k power for every token that you retire. So you retire 2 tokens, it gets plus 10k power, and it's on being attacked, so basically this is a defensive way. And it's nice that you can play defensive right here because sometimes guard restrict exists, so it's just another way of defensive value, and I really love that about Rorowa. Too bad it wasn't really offensive-like, which is why I never really built the deck in the first place. But with the new Rorowa, that's why I built it. But it's very simple. You call your tokens, do your plays. Remaining tokens basically just becomes your defensive fodder. In which, before we go to the main deck itself, let's go to the one main token to the deck. The Momoke token. So the Momoke token has the ability to attack from your back row if it's in the same column with a Radylina, aka the glitter unit. Just keep in mind, majority of glitter units, basically all of them, that is not lyrical, all have 2 nations to them. But every one of them has one main nation that it belongs to. In this case, it's the Radylina, spoiler, in this deck, that belongs in Stokea and Rorowa. And glitter is just basically a way to say what archetype it belongs in. But anyway, so if this card is in the same column as the Radylina, it can attack from the back row, which is of course going to be very nice. Even if it's 5k, there's ways to power it up. And here's the main part, like I said from the playstyle of eating your plant tokens, where act once per turn, retire as many of your plant tokens as much as possible and gets plus 5k power each. So you get 3 tokens from Rorowa, it gets plus 15k right there. Most of the time on average I retire 1 or 2 from this, so it's going to be a 15k attacker in the back row. And this extra power will be relevant because it's going to support Radylina. Just a little spoiler right there, aka it's also Radylina's partner, so it makes sense. But other than that, it doesn't really do much, but it's basically your 4th attacker in the back row. And now to the main deck itself. So first off, we got the new form of Rorowa, or the fighting stance of Rorowa, a Viridescent Flash Rorowa. So the skill is, when placed by riding on top of the original form Rorowa, one's precious thing Rorowa, call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard and they get this ability. When it's being retired on rearguard, draw a card, which is going to be very likely to happen because of the part where Rorowa could just retire it for basically its shield value, and there's other ways to retire it by other means, and it's basically extra draw power here. And by the way, you only get this skill until the end of your opponent's turn, but that's fine because you're going to get your tokens retired beforehand, and you also activate Persona right on the same turn. Very important there. Very important that you're activating your main skill before you activate the Persona right. And I really like this about the new cross epics because all these new fighting stance forms of the cross epics all have this Persona ride clause in it. When you ride it on the base form, main skill activates and activate Persona ride. I really like that Persona ride is still a thing for these. But anyway, the second skill is when this card attacks, you can bind the original form Rorowa from your soul. Choose one of your glitter rearguards. This and that unit gets plus 5k power, and this card gets 1 crit. And then at the end of the turn, rewrite the bound unit. So in a way, you get 1 late soul. So in a way, you get 1 soul back by going back to the original Rorowa. So you could go back defensive. While this one plays full on offensive with the extra power. Sure, the extra 5k on 2 units isn't much, but the 1 crit can also be very pressuring. But the main part is the first skill because you get those extra tokens with draws. Overall, it's just pretty nice. It's not like super duper amazing, but overall pretty cool, especially with the pressure that it can make. And then we got first off, the Evolve Radylina. Yes, we're starting off with the Evolve one. So first off, at the beginning of your main phase, if you have no Momoke token, you call the Momoke token to rearguard. And yes, that's how important Momoke token is because of the second skill, where glitter on Rorowa, I'm not going to really go over that. At the end of the battle that your Radylina attacks and you have a... At the end of the battle that your Radylina attacks, while this card's in your hand, while your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can retire the Radylina along with the Momoke token and superior call this and then this card gets power equal to that Momoke token. And this is why the Momoke eating your plants is going to be very important because it fuels Radylina. Basically, they're partner in crimes, and this Radylina form is basically both her pet and herself combined as 1 attack. That's basically what it is. And basically, it's another way to get an extra attack, and I really like this Radylina for it. Basically, just the extra combo loft. And yeah, that's another reason why I kind of like Rorowa and kind of ended up building the deck. It's just kind of fun. And then lastly, for the last of the grade 3 lineup, this is a promo card, but it's actually very cheap for a promo. Resonant Pairs of Eyes. So you activate it if your Vanguard's Rorowa and by counterblasting 1 and retiring a rearguard. There's a way to retire a rearguard there. So when you place it on the order zone, you search your deck for 1 Radylina card from your deck to your hand. Very important because that is your main rearguard unit that you're really going to need, hence the art. And on the order zone, while your Vanguard's Rorowa, all your back row tokens get plus 5k, which is going to make, of course, them even stronger, especially Momoke. So overall, it's just your searcher, your power-up engine. You kind of need to play this. Of course, it could be a little hard to find for a V in promo, but it's actually very cheap for a promo. So I think people should be able to afford this. But if you can't really afford it, well, there's another order card that is not too bad, but this is a preferred one. To the grade 2 lineup, here's the grade 2 lineup. And into the grade 2 lineup, here's the main grade 2. Drag Raider of Flame Blossom's Radylina. This is the base form Radylina in the original. So first off, you don't have a Momoke token, you can counterblast 1 to call the Momoke token. Partner in crime. And then the second skill where it has to be on the glitter. When this card attacks, you can Soul Blast 1, choose 1 Momoke token at the same column as this unit, and this card gets plus power equal to that Momoke token. Hence why the Momoke token eating your plants is going to be very important to power up Radylina. Very simple and basically a powerful beat stick. And basically your main power beat stick throughout the whole deck. At least the new Rorowa actually kind of fixes the Vanguard pressure part. This was originally your main power play back in the day, especially with this new form of Radylina. But now with the new Rorowa, it just makes things even better. And then finally, for the other grade 2, and it's a new one, Marthas, which has the skill when placed from hand, you can Soul Blast 1 to retire 2 of your rear guards. It's not as costly as it seems because of the plant tokens. Call 1 card from your drop zone. Very important because this could help you recycle the Radylina or even generate more plant tokens through other means. In speaking of which, we could generate plant tokens with the second skill where auto front row rear guard at the beginning of battle, you can call 1 plant token as long as you have a Radylina. Yep, so it could recycle your Radylina along with getting you more plant tokens. So it's just a cool new support card, and I actually use the 2 skills quite often. The plant token one is definitely going to be used. Sometimes it could be a dud because you don't have the Radylina, and it does happen, but the first skill usually fixes the second one, but sometimes against control decks, it could be a little troublesome. But depending on the matchup, you should be able to get this off without much of an issue. But overall, pretty cool support card. So that's it for the grade 2 lineup. For the grade 1 lineup, I run a Granfia card, the Mushrooms, because this one you can just put it to soul to call plant token, but if your Vanguard is grade 3, you call 2 plant tokens, and you can ignore the last part of the skill because that part revolves around Granfia, because if it's Granfia, also plus 5k to 1 unit, which is not going to happen because this deck is not Granfia. The only point of this is to generate your tokens, and it goes to soul on top of it, so it fixes soul as well. Get more soul, the better. This deck is more soul heavy than counterblast heavy, so yeah, it's just a very good support card, and most of the time I just call this card when I have a Radylina because this is basically my second main call target to Radylina. And then we got the 4 PGs. And then finally to the last card that I am considered taking out, to the Shining Stage, which is an order card of the deck where you play it by Soul Blasting 1 if your Vanguard is Rorowa. So you call 1 card from the drop zone less than or equal to your Vanguard, and then if you have a rearguard Radylina, you also call a plant token. So one thing you can do is call your Radylina and then call the plant token. Now the only thing is you also have a grade 2, the new one that can call from drop zone 2, so this has become a lot less necessary, but also generates a plant token in a way too, so in a way it's also pretty useful, and it's just more ways to get out your resources, especially in the control matchup. There might be some other better cards than this, but at the same time, you generate so many tokens that your field is almost always full that you kind of just don't have anything to call anyway. So having the order card and having a play is also very nice as well. And that's where most of my situations land at, so I just kind of end up preferring running this. And then finally, the trigger lineup, the OT, the 8 crits, choose whatever theme you want. This is best fitting theme. Of course, the draws, and finally, the 4 heals. I chose the Butterfly Leonore because I think that fits the best. So that's it for this new deck profile on my Viridescent Flash Rorowa. What do you guys think of it? Overall, I have to say it's pretty fun, playing defensive to offensive, and then going back to defense. And also the eating the plant token things, generating your rear guards, and then regenerating them, and then just basically doing combo plays, extra attacks that are just pretty nice. New Rorowa just plays full on offensive, and I really love that. Overall, it's just a fun deck. It's nothing like super amazing, but just overall fun. There's quite a cool amount of combo plays that I found with this deck, but overall, just nice artwork as well, and just pretty cool. But in that, there's really not much to say about it, but I will ask, what other cards would you guys recommend? I put the deck the way I kind of like it for now, but there's few cards I am considering swapping out because there might be some better options that I might totally forgot about. But in that, that's it for this, and see you all next time.